Episode is with Courtney Meiers, who is a school psychologist who has worked with tweens and teens for close to 10 years. Thank you so much, Courtney, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I'll let you kind of introduce yourself and tell your story and what brought you to become a school psychologist, and then we'll kind of go from there.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Meiers. I am currently in Redwood City, California, and I got here I work in a school district here in Redwood City as the school psychologist, but I began when I was about 22 years old as a teacher in a high school. And I began as a teacher because I grew up with my mom being a teacher, and then I dropped out of law school and moved to South America and began teaching English as a foreign language and realized I was good at teaching. So then I started teaching high school when I got back to America and got my teaching certificate as an English teacher. And I taught that for approximately 3 to 4 years. And I also was a coach for cheerleading and softball. And then I realized that I was better working with students that had challenges emotionally and also learning challenges. And I wanted to learn more how to support them and help them. So I began the process of going back to grad school, where I went to San Diego State University and went to a 4-year program that is a dual master's degree program where you receive your education specialist degree, where I have a master's in counseling and a master's in school psychology. So I do both counseling and school psychology. I worked on a grant where we worked with culturally and linguistically diverse students and advocated for them. And in that process, I worked for around 4 to 5 different school districts, ranging from pre-K to high school, and of all different cultures and backgrounds. And I also worked at a behavioral challenge school. We'll call it a behavioral challenge school. And that was a lot of oppositional, defiant, and emotionally disturbed children. And then I also began my own private practice of working with kids on my own, one-on-one, doing counseling and academic tutoring. And since then, I've been a school psychologist now. I'm on my 2nd year out of grad school. And I play both roles as the counselor and the school psychologist at my current setting. And and I've learned a lot in those 10 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That is a lot of experience with varying audiences. So I guess my first question is, what do you find is the biggest challenge? So, so we're talking like tween years, like I guess 9 to 13-ish, and then the teen. So if you want to break them down between, what do you find is the biggest challenge between them and their peers?
Friendships.
Yeah.
The challenge is understanding what is a friend, what is a true friend, what is my role in the friendship, and how to navigate when friendships aren't always going to work out. So that's probably, you would think school is the biggest challenge, but not in the preteen, especially middle school level. They're not valuing, they don't understand that school is going to get them to college or their job yet. So they're still very focused on their friendship groups and forming those friendship groups. And it's very painful for them they're not understanding the rejection yet. So navigating what friendships are, what's a good friend, where do I fit in, who am I? So a lot of them don't even really understand quite who they are yet. A lot of children are followers in their preteen years. And then some of them who have low self-esteem or low senses of adequacy, or what we call sense of inadequacy, tend to become followers very quickly and may follow the wrong crowd. And then that's when the rejection or going down path of doing behaviors that are not so good begin to happen, and a lot of tears and sadness come about after that.
Right. Okay. And then what do you find with the teen?
At the high So, and the question is again, what is the biggest problem?
Yes, the biggest challenge that teens navigate within their friendships and peers.
So once we get past the middle school, I would say around 8th grade into the high school level, now we're dealing with romantic relationships. So that will trump. So friendships are still very important because you still like, it's still very important for their friendship groups. However, now it's like obsession with the significant other or partnership or romantic relationship. And that will trump their focus in school. I see it maybe 9 times out of 10, these kids are not able to focus in school if they're having any type of romantic relationship problems. It's better friendships, they can kind of navigate a little easier and focus in school, but when it comes to romantic relationships, sometimes it's burning bridges with friends, and then that due to the romantic relationship, burning bridges with their parents, so not able to focus in class. So romantic relationships are the biggest challenge, and especially if they start to become sexually active.
Wow. Okay. So if we break this down to the pre-teen years, when they're navigating those friendships, so I have a preteen daughter, and what she finds is that, you know, one day she's besties, one day they're not, and she's having a hard time. You know, there's times that she comes home and she's like, I'm not good enough for them. And so it's actually like very mean girl like the movie Mean Girls. It's actually very much like that behavior. So how do we help them navigate as parents?
So what I recommend parents to do is to keeping open communication with their kids so they're able to have the conversation about what friends they have at school, who are your friends, so parents know who are their friends. So making sure this child feels comfortable saying, hey, Cindy and I are friends, like Cindy's my best friend, and like kind of knowing what the hierarchy of friends are and kind of what that friendship group is like at school, so parents are aware first and foremost. And then secondly, understanding kind of I hate to say it, but like the stereotype of the friendship group. Is this the friendship group that plays the sports? Is this the friendship group that, you know, kind of what the category of these friends are, in the sense to kind of see where your kid is fitting in. And then seeing if that is where the kid fits in technically in the parent opinion, not telling the kid, oh, you don't fit in this group, maybe don't be friends with that person, but just knowing and noting that in your own brain as the parent, like, okay, so she's hanging out with all of the gamers, but she doesn't play video games. So there's a deficit or a discrepancy there. And to be kind of prepared that something's going to occur with that discrepancy. And then another point to say is ensuring that there isn't any negative or criticism towards, oh, you can't be friends with that kid, don't be friends with him, because that will, I would say, like I say, 80% of the time make the kid want to actually be friends with that person even more. So allowing the kid to choose their friends and learn from their own choices is really important. And just being a parent, being a person that's there to create like a safe, supportive environment for them to talk to about the friends, and if friends go sour or become mean girls. And then this part I'm navigating as well is kind of helping children at that age. They're starting to discover who they are. So a lot of times they will be who their friends are. And so, well, I like this because my friend likes this. So in allowing or having the conversation with them to say, well, what is it that you like? What are your strengths? And helping the child identify who they are and kind of mold and be more solid in who they are as a person, which will help them navigate their friendships better. Because if they are lost, they have no idea what they're good at. They don't even know what they like, what their hobbies are. They're just kind of floating through school and life. They might fall into a crowd that isn't so good for them and then end up getting their hearts broken. However, if you're raising your child with the sense of, this is who I am, this is what I like, this is what I'm good at, and these are the people I want to surround myself with, then the child has a better ability to navigate what is a good friend to choose. And then when I say, what is a good friend, also helping your child understand kind of by definition, what is a friend and how are you a friend? So a lot of my questions I ask during my interviews and when I'm counseling is, well, what's a definition of a friend? And some kids don't even know what is a friend. So helping them understand a friend isn't someone who talks behind your back. A friend, that's not someone you want. And this is a conversation I probably have on a daily basis with girls, specifically girls crying in my office because they've been, like you said, have had an experience with a mean girl. So to curb that or to help the child understand that that isn't a friend, it's helping them understand who they are as a person, how they contribute to a friendship, and then also what they want as a friend for themselves. And that's a really important definition. And we all kind of have different definitions of friends. I'm not saying we have to go in the dictionary, but sometimes it's helpful for some children because maybe they need explicit instruction on this is a friend if they haven't maybe been modeled that growing up, or maybe they just keep falling into the wrong groups. They just need to know that this is what a friend is, and this is not what, like, friends aren't the ones that are going to tell your secrets. Friends aren't someone who's going to post mean stuff about you on social media. That's not a friend. And then teaching them it's okay to say, it's like, to understand that they can take space away from another peer in there, even though they have to see that peer again. It's okay to say, you know what, I'll see him in class, but I'm not gonna hang out with them after school anymore.
Right. Social media is another challenge that I find trying to navigate, because they're seeing their friends on social media and they're kind of knowing, like when I was growing up, I didn't know where my friends were all the time. So if they were all hanging out without me, I had no idea. Whereas my daughter knows all of the time where her friends are and if they're not with her. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
How how do you help them navigate that? Yeah.
So social media is huge. Like that's I would say the number one contributor to the tears, to the suicidal ideations, to the bullying. That's number one. So I personally I don't have kids, so I'm going to be real. I don't have kids. I can't say, oh, don't let your kid go on social media, because I don't know the challenges that is out there right now. But like the texting still happens. That's not social media technically. So yeah, they're going to find out that their friends are maybe leaving them out, things like that. And that's tough. And at the end of the day, it's sometimes they just have to kind of just learning how to, what would I say, roll with the punches and just say, all right, well, I guess, they didn't invite me and that's fine. I'm just gonna go do my own thing. And that's a good time to have your child or your preteen or teen finding their hobbies. What are they good at? Again, we got to go back to what makes them happy as a individual. Well, who are they as an individual? Okay, your friends are out at that Halloween party and you didn't get invited, and that sucks, but you're can stay home and do your awesome painting and drawing, and we can hang out and watch a movie, and it's just as fun and cool. And maybe those kids are not your friends because they didn't invite you anyways. Just having real talks like that, and then also having your child be able to know, well, what can I do when I'm alone and my friends didn't invite me to hang out? How can I be happy with me on my own by myself? And that's where lots of kids get lost, because they don't really know how to make themselves entertained or happy on their own, unless they're maybe watching YouTube videos or doing what their friends are doing. So from my experience as a child, and this is why I'm in my profession, is because I experienced a lot of mean girl situations. I experienced a lot of bullying, not being invited to things and feeling really sad about it. And my mom would step in and like call the other moms and be like, why didn't you invite my daughter? And like I lived in a small town, so I would know, because they would all, like, if everyone was trick-or-treating without me, I would know, because we were all in the same town. So I experienced a lot of heartbreak from friendships. And it definitely helped a lot for me to find out what my strengths were as an individual and set my goals, and like, okay, well, I'm gonna do my thing. at the time I like to read and write. So I would just read and write, and maybe I'd write my feelings out in a journal. I have a lot of journals talking about how much I was hurt by my friends. And if I didn't have that coping strategy, it's unavoidable. You're going to get hurt by either a friend, a boy, or a relationship, or something in your life. So having coping strategies to deal with the heartache that's going to come from these relationship dynamics, like writing, drawing, painting, singing, dancing, things like that, that's key to help get through those moments of stress, trauma, heartbreak, whatever it is.
Thank you. Okay. So do you find, and then for teenagers and navigating their romantic relationships, what can we as parents do for them or help them and support them?
So again, that open communication is key. So again, not saying you can't do this. So that minute you put the boundary of giving them no leeway. So there's different types of parenting style: authoritarian, authoritative, and then the other one, which is basically like I'm your best friend parent. So we want to go in the middle, which is authoritarian. I think it is. Sorry, it's been a while since I use these terminologies. But the one that's so the super strict one, authoritative, like I'm military strict. That's going to cause the kid to rebel extremely. And then the other side of the spectrum is the very lenient parent. I'm your best friend, tell me everything parent. Still, that's too far on the other end. So you want to be right in the middle. So you have boundaries, and you also have open communication to discuss those boundaries. So when it comes to romantic relationships, having an open dialogue with the student, or the students, the kid, and saying, all right, so, you're 14 years old, and I see you're liking boys, and you're wanting to have a boyfriend. So I'm going to, allow you can talk to him, but the phone gets put away at 9:00 at night. We're not staying up all night on the phone. Okay. Secondly, you're not hanging out with, or you may hang out with him, like start positively. You may hang out with him in a set of friends, in a group of friends, and I would appreciate you letting me know who is in the group with you, and to be home by a certain time. It's very helpful to meet the significant other, the romantic relationship, so you can see who they are and just be involved in that way, and be included in on their relationship type of thing that's going on. A lot of times at around 13, 14, 15, it looks more like, oh, we're just going to the movies, we're going to the mall, we're going to the park. And then as it gets up into 16, 17, 18, then they start staying at each other's houses and doing things like that, and doing a lot more private stuff. So trying to maintain the group activities for as long as possible is really important, because what happens is they will engage in behaviors that are maybe I would say they will advance in their behaviors, you know what I'm talking about, a little quickly when they're privately hanging out. And so just putting boundaries, like, okay, you may hang out with them in a group. You need to be home by 10:00. Please let me know where you're at. And just ensuring that you have these details that allow you to know what's going on. You're able to know who the partner is, and just maintaining boundaries, but not strict boundaries. Like, no, you may not speak to a boy. Like my dad, back in the old days, we had the phone of our house, and if a boy called my house, he'd be like, never call again, and hang up. Well,
Oh,
I would
wow.
sneak out and go talk to him then. So it didn't help.
Right.
So if you do stuff like that, it can cause the child to react in a very rebellious way. So that's why staying in that middle ground of having boundaries, but boundaries that are open for discussion, and then ensuring that you kind of know what's going on, where your kid's at, know the details, and try to, at least have them be supervised. So if they are going out to a movie, make sure, like maybe there's a parent with them, or, the kid's parents or something. Just keeping as much information and data as you can while they're going through the relationships is helpful. And then, I hate to say it, but having the conversation about sex, and just letting them know, like, what is sex? What is the consequence that comes from sex? Because I had, as a teacher, 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds who had babies. They
Wow.
didn't know, absolutely did not know that by having sex, they were going to have a baby from that. It was not educated to them. And some schools don't do sex education. So it is up to the parents. Some children didn't even know what their period meant. So having conversations, what is a period? And maybe there's, sorry, my thing. There are a lot of resources out there online, books that can kind of share that information if the parent feels uncomfortable having the conversation themselves. So there are books you can, kind of read with your kids. There might be resources online that kind of share how to discuss that with your child. But I recommend, and I highly recommend, do not rely on the school system to teach your child, especially females, about their periods, about sex, because it's not, in this system, it is not a valid way to learn about what sex is and what comes from it. And kind of just being real, like sex is something you want to have with a partner in your future when you are wanting to create a family, stuff like that, just being super straightforward. And it's because if you just don't have the conversation at all and you expect them to just know, it's not innate knowledge. They aren't born with the knowledge. We don't know, and they have the desire in their body and they're navigating it. So it's definitely important for us to explain, okay, what is this feeling inside of you? What can you do with it instead of, sexual intercourse? There's other ways we can navigate this, and ensuring they know what protected sex is, just in case. And I know parents think if I talk about that, that means I'm giving them permission. That's not the case. Just let them know that there is a way to protect themselves if they do choose to go that route.
Wow, you're giving me heart palpitations thinking about this.
It's tough. When I have middle schoolers coming to me that have been sexually active, and we haven't even gotten to that unit in the health class, I worry, I worry too. And I wish parents would come to me more and ask me more about it so I can help them navigate this. But again, it's not my, whatever is shared with me with my students stays with me, and unless they're going to harm themselves or others. So it's kind of this fine line where I tell parents, they're harming themselves, but it's not like they're dying. So I still struggle with how to navigate that. And to be honest, when I was a high school teacher, I would have these conversations with kids that I coached, because they would come to me and their parents didn't understand that they were doing these things. And I would have to be the one to explain to them what is sex. Maybe that boy you just met a week ago isn't someone you want to give your body to. And kind of actually giving them information about where to go to Planned Parenthood. And that was a real thing I did. And it probably wasn't legal, but I definitely protected a lot of girls from getting pregnant. And to this day, I am not regretful at all. Sometimes kids or children, people, whoever, they want to be a mom, and that's just a really important thing for them. And that's fine. And then you can discuss, okay, so what is a baby? What is that going to look like if you do? Let's pretend you had one right now. How would you take care of it? How are you going to pay for its diapers? Just having those conversations. How are you going to go to school? How are you going to, because I had 14-year-olds who would only be able to come to school half the day because they had to go home and take care of their baby. And they never got to finish high school. And then they were just moms the rest of their life. So is that, so helping them understand, okay, so if your goal in life is to be a mom, that's great. Well, let's at least get you through high school. But my thing is, when I work with girls, especially, because that's my main thing is girls, and I do love, I work with all of them, but I really, because I am one, I'm passionate, I help girls understand that we are not here just to be moms. We are here, we're more than just moms. Let's set up, what is our 5-year plan? Maybe she's in 8th grade. Okay, so what is it going to look like after high school? Maybe we want to go to college. What do you want to do? Do you want to be a designer? Think of all these amazing things you can do besides just being a mom. And that's an important conversation to have, because they may be just watching TV shows and seeing just that being a mom is cool and having babies, but it's showing them that there's alternative routes is really important.
Okay, awesome. All right, thank you. What can you say about bullying and helping, because being on both sides, right? So my daughter, I think, tends to be more of the bystander, right? But she knows how hurt the bullied child is, she's also been bullied at points, right? So what can you say about helping kids navigate bullying?
Right. So bullying's huge. Like I said, social media is the main contributor to the bullying. Um, so uh, being on the receiving end of the bullying, to navigate that, again, if you have created good open communication and supportive environment for your child, that child should, you want to recommend, always, uh, in that supportive communication, letting them know, if any child at school ever makes you feel bad about yourself, please feel free to come talk to me about it so we can, talk about it. So having them be able to feel safe to come to you as, to their mom, to their dad, to say, hey, this kid at school was kind of mean to me today, and it didn't feel good. And having to be able to talk about that. Then on top of it, as a parent, letting the school know that this is occurring, and not in a way where you're like, oh, get Cindy in trouble, but just letting them know, hey, there is bullying going on. What are you guys doing at the school to help with this? Because that's important, that the school needs to know about this. And because a lot of times the bullying kind of goes on undercover, and the school may not really even know that that's happening, and it is their job, the school's job, to help with that situation as well. So also helping your child understand who is a safe adult to go to talk about this at the school, so you don't always have to be the one rescuing them and calling the school and being the one saying, hey, this kid's being bullied. So having the child advocate for themselves and going to a trusted adult in the school to say, hey, like, these kids are bullying me, it doesn't feel good. Now, if it's within the friendship group, so a lot of this new bullying stuff I've noticed is about being roasted, and I've even had to like put that in some of my reports, because some of these kids, they're in friendship groups, but they're being treated very poorly. And that would look like being roasted, like a child speaks and says something and they go, oh, that was a stupid thing to say, like, why are you talking, and putting them down. So that's a form of bullying. That's this thing, but it's like, oh, I was just joking, I was just roasting you. And having that be also okay to say, like, I don't feel good being roasted, and I don't appreciate that. So teaching your child how to advocate for themselves, like, that's not cool, don't talk to me like that, and stand up for themselves. Because if they just keep getting, put down, and they want to be friends with these people, they got to learn to stand up for themselves at some point, and not taking it and saying, you know what, that's, again, going back to what is a friend, what isn't a friend. Be like, okay, actually, this person at lunch that I sit with keeps saying this stuff to me, and it doesn't make me feel good. So is that really a friend? Maybe I need to, even though finding a new friendship group is going to be really hard, it's actually probably going to be better in the long run that I do that, and kind of having that conversation, because it is kind of like a breakup at that point, to separate them out of the toxic, because it is toxic, a toxic friendship group. And then understanding that bullying is coming from a place of insecurity on the opposite end. So teaching your child that bullying is often coming from a child who does not feel good about themselves. That's a conversation I have a lot. Okay, so why is Cindy, I keep using Cindy keep bullying? Why does Cindy keep telling me that I'm ugly and that she doesn't like the way my hair looks? Well, maybe Cindy has some stuff going on at home that we don't know about. Maybe Cindy's mom tells her how ugly she is all the time. We don't know, but don't take it personally, because that is purely part of her issues. And we're going to just try to stay away from Cindy from now on, and just stuff like that, because understanding where the underlying root cause of bullying is coming from might help the child understand, oh, I guess it's not something personal, and I can, just go ignore Cindy and try to do something else with my day. Now on social media, when they post like pictures and stuff and roast people on social media, again, going to a safe adult, going to a parent and being able to say, like, hey, this person put this on social media and it was super disrespectful. And that's conversations where we've had to have students delete stuff off of social media because it has been inappropriate. It's been private stuff that they've posted. Like, some kids, to be honest, are taking nude pictures of themselves and sending them, and then those pictures are being used up on social media to when they get in fights with their friends. So it isn't there. So having that conversation, being like, whatever you send to another person as well, be careful, because that can, you never know what that person's intentions are behind it. So being safe with social media safety conversations too.
Okay, thank you. And how do you, for kids that tend to be followers, how can you help them to kind of take more leadership roles?
So that's, again, finding their strengths, seeing what they're good at. A lot of times I use human design. So that's a tool I use to see, like, okay, look at their charts, things like that. But if you don't have that, that's fine. You don't need to go into all that. But finding their strengths based on what they like. So if they're a follower and you see them kind of just kind of doing whatever their friends are doing, if their friend cut their hair, I'm going to go cut my hair. It happens to all kids, to be honest, but it's a time where they're discovering who they are as well. So don't see them as followers, but see them as navigating who they are by kind of copying someone they look up to. So if they're looking up to this other person and they're following that other person, kind of asking them why are you following, or why do you look up to that friend so much? Why do you want to be like them? And just see if it's positive stuff or negative. Maybe it's that person's really funny and outgoing and they would just want to be like them. And that's actually okay. And if it's something like, oh, well, she's the cool girl at school. Well, why is she cool? What's the definition of cool? Just really questioning and being curious. That's the main thing, is being curious why your kid is following. And maybe it's a self-esteem issue. Maybe we need to focus on finding what that kid's good at. Again, allowing kids to choose extracurricular activities is super important in the preteen and teen years. Not forcing them to do an extracurricular activity and be like, you will play basketball, but allowing them to say, hey, we have an hour or two a week for you to do dance, piano, band, soccer, basketball, whatever. What would you like to try this year? And having them choose an extracurricular activity where they can gain what is called autonomy, or a sense of independence. I can do something that I put my mind to. And when they start gaining autonomy and independence and feeling good about themselves, then the following behaviors, the maybe falling into the wrong groups, or even just using boys as a distraction, will fall to the wayside, because now they are developing confidence in themselves and knowing who they are more and more, and increasing that. And especially setting goals with, like, okay, so you like art and music. Okay, what do you want to do with that when older? Let's work on it now. And when they have these plans, what I'm telling you, when kids get focused and are like, you know what, I want to get into college with my art skills. And when they set their mind on that, all these like boy problems and things like that start to go away, because they don't care as much about boys, or they don't care as much about Cindy who got a new outfit, because they're focused on their art and getting into college and being, who they are a little bit more, because they have that sense of, I am somebody and I am a unique human being. And what I was going to say is that I've had even kids I've seen around 13, 14 kids go into even psychosis, where they are so depressed that they become psychotic. And I've worked with kids to get out of psychosis without medication, finding their strengths, working on their cognitive brain functioning, and using, verbal psychotherapy, where we're talking about this, and setting goals with 5-year plans, and just finding their strengths. So this one girl had a really good ability to make these little crafts. Well, what can we do with that? We can make an Etsy store. We can set a goal where you make your own Etsy store. How much money do you need for the clay? Let's just put it all out there. And sure enough, within 3 months, we were like, she had made all these little crafts, and we had all these plans, and pretty soon she was forgetting that she even had these depressive, suicidal thoughts only 3 months ago. And I just talked to her mom just now, and now she has her lifeguard certification. She's doing well in school again. She's been discharged from the psychiatrist. So it's just a matter of finding their strengths and helping them teach them that they have an ability to do something other than just be a follower in a crowd, or just being, a floater.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Do you find that there is a difference between helping teen girls and helping teen boys navigating
Yes.
relationships? What would you say the major differences are?
So with boys, so girls are gonna, and I hate to stereotype, a lot of times there's a lot more emotions coming from the girls' end, a lot more thinking about it. With boys, I've noticed that it's very much like they're thinking with their bodies, and whatever they're attracted to, they would like. And then they get kind of, their emotional response is, so if the relationship doesn't work out, I've seen emotional responses be pretty much like, okay, or angry. And the angry response is maybe, angry at the fact that the girl doesn't like him anymore or something. But it isn't, I don't see boys go to the spot of suicidal ideations because of relationships. I don't see boys as easily fall into obsessive behaviors with the girl. The boys tend to, be a little bit more like less attached to the relationship during the teen years. Girls just, there's something that happens, and I don't know if it's culturally or our socialization process in America or whatever, but it is, they become very attached very quickly. Within a 24-hour period, I've had girls go from like, I don't even know this guy, and then the next day I'm in love, he's my boyfriend, I want to marry him and have his babies. And it's just like, oh my gosh. And like, I do see the boy, saying I love you too and things like that, but it's not quite as like overwhelming. So for boys, I feel like it takes them, I feel like because research shows they mature emotionally a little slower than females, and then also because females, we have this reproduction desire, things like that, we can attach ourselves very quickly. And it also depends, who is the girl looking up to, who are their role models. So if their role model is a female that is in a relationship and that has babies, then they're going to want that as well. And then for boys, they have a lot of role models that are like, it's easier for them to see that they don't need, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like it's easier for them to during their teen years to not be as obsessed with the relationship, because they just know that they're chilling, they're fine. I don't honestly know why. I feel like it's socialization, but yeah. So for girls, it's like a lot more drama. For boys, and people have different experiences, so I'm just generalizing, but I definitely, let's just say, I don't have a lot of boys in my office with relationship problems.
Oh, what do you find the teen boy problems tend to be?
Disagreements among other boys. This is currently the situation. A lot of times wanting to fight because someone said something. It's like they go through an aggressive period. A lot of, I'm trying to think back of when I was in teaching high school. They are focused on girls, but it's not as life or death for them. So they're kind of focused on, flirting with the girl. They're not going to go kill themselves maybe over the girl as much, but they definitely enjoy the attention. The main problem I have in my office with boys at this school is definitely fighting. There's a lot of fighting that happens. There's a lot of girl fights right now too, but for boys specifically, it is fighting. I have had boys be emotional due to maybe family situations. I just don't have a lot of boys that have emotions right now. I'm in middle school though, that have to do with relationships.
Okay. Okay. And do you still have your private practice?
Oh, whoops, I have one more thing that just came to me.
Okay.
Boys have right now in their preteen to teens a sense of inadequacy is something that continues to pop up for me, feeling like
Oh,
they are not good enough. So again, finding strengths for boys too. And some right now, I'm noticing a lot of boys aren't fitting the mold of what we've created for these. They're not fitting the mold for the boy. So the boy mold. So boys who have, you know, the desire to be artistic or creative, but it's not fitting that
mm,
boy mold. That's going to create a sense of inadequacy. So understanding that right now, this new generation that's coming in is not going to fit the box that we've created for gender roles, and they are experiencing a discrepancy, and they are aware of that discrepancy. So they're not. So I'm seeing a lot of boys with creative visual processing skills that aren't being recognized in the school system, and it's actually specifically among boys. It's really crazy. I've noticed a very high rate of visual processing being high with boys, and nobody recognizes it, so they feel like crap and they suck at reading, writing, math, and you know what's the point of school, let me give up. So understanding that there's going to be some males out there that aren't going to fit the mailbox, and that we should still continue to support and love them unconditionally, and find, well, maybe let's let them outside of the box, let's see what they're good at, and be okay with maybe your son might want to be in dance, maybe your son has a lot of friends that are girls, and just not putting them in a box. Because I think right now the main thing is to teach them that it's okay to be who they are and be individuals, and not create this mold for them, because they're not gonna sit in that mold, and you're just gonna make it miserable for everybody. So that's a huge one for what's going on with the guys right now.
wow. Okay, so for both of them, for both boys and girls, it is helping them to figure out who they are and finding their own strengths.
Yep. and
Okay.
and really try not to, like I said, that parenting style of super strict versus super lenient. Try to be in between, have the boundaries be negotiable. So what's a good time for you to come home on a Saturday night, do you think? You want to get some sleep, we want to wake up early on Sunday, so maybe 10 o'clock. And they're like, no mom, okay, well maybe I was okay 10:30, not, like stuff like that, negotiating boundaries. And then also that mold, like I just was speaking of, understanding that this new generation isn't going to be fitting these molds that we've created in our generations or previous generations. They're here to change the paradigm. They're here to change the system. A lot of these kids are completely here to shift the paradigm, and they are not going to stand for being put in a box. And the more you try to put them in that box, again, that goes on that strict military side of parenting, and the more they're going to try to break that box open, burn the break box down, and they're not going to tell you about it. And then you're going to end up finding them with that burnt box, maybe some sadness, and you don't want to have to be picking up the pieces. You want to support them in who they are, and not try to put them in any boxes. And the best way to do that is seeing what they're good at by allowing them to choose their free time activities, and supporting them in that on their strengths.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this.
Mhm.
And so do you still have your private practice?
Yes, so
Okay.
I work with kids on the side. I do video calls, because driving around town is a lot of work, and I don't have an office outside of my school office. So do uh, I do work with people on the side. I would say that it looks like I don't just do, counseling or therapy. So what I do is I do kind of like kid coaching, where again, like I was saying, I find their strengths, I use their designs, I navigate their 5-year plans with them, and I help them learn. Sometimes they need explicit instruction on how to go through school, how to go through friendships. So we do kind of like progress monitoring of keeping track of homework, keeping track of academics, and also keeping track of friendships. So I check in with them about friendships. I check in with them about their schoolwork. I check in with them about the other stuff that we talk about, such as, for example, I have one student who is a very creative designer. So I give her like homework once a week to work on her designs, to look up how to be a designer, stuff like that.
That's awesome. And how old are, oh, sorry, how old, what's the age range you work with?
Generally anyone from middle school to high school, or even I've worked with college students. I've helped college students get into grad school as well, and work with them through their college years. So that's an area as well. So I guess I go up to about from ages 12 to 20.
Okay. Okay. And where can people find you?
That's a good question. I guess here, you can always message me on Facebook, Courtney Meiers. My email, I can give you my email research. I do have a website, but it's like, I don't feel like it's good enough. I mean, we all kind of do that. Like,
yeah.
So it's CourtneyMeiers.com, and that's one version of what I do. But generally it's like word of mouth where people hear about me and just try to contact me. I don't take on too many people on the side, just because I want to make sure I don't like to treat kids as numbers. So I do it with kids that I know are going to benefit from my services, and then also that are willing to invest the time.
Oh, awesome. All right. Thank you so much for being here and for all of the value information. All right. And thank you to everyone that watched.
Yeah, thanks for watching. And, questions, comments, whatever, send me an email, Facebook message. I'm always open for communication and consultation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.